your business. And the first part of pitching your business has to do with coming up with a mission or vision statement, which you might think is kind of a waste of time. And it can be the way some people do it, but I think it's definitely worth doing. So the difference between a vision and a mission, and I think this the textbook says it pretty well, is a vision, this is how things will be if you actually accomplish what you want to do. So this is how you want the world to be, your company to be, and the mission is what you're going to do to make that happen. So the 7th Generation Games mission is we make and support these building blocks for educational games with components for great games and great education. So hopefully, we do. Our vision, we enable anyone to use games to tell stories worth telling. So if we're successful, anybody who has a story that they want to tell, if they want to teach their language, if they want to teach about growing corn, they'll be able to do it using what we do. So that's, the vision is what will happen, like the outcome, and mission is what we're going to do. So our Sync store, our vision for that is building a stronger Sync community through better shopping experiences. So the vision isn't what you're going to do, it's what the outcome's going to be. And our mission, we provide products and services for the college community and campus neighborhood that are affordable, accessible, and authentic, provided in a welcoming environment. So these aren't perfect mission and vision, but it's the best I could do in 15 minutes. So vision, what the company or the world will look like if you succeed. So that's why it's called a vision, right? And the mission is what you'll do. Your mission if you decide to accept it. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be about changing the world. When we started Spiritlight Consulting, there's actually Eric who was the president. His vision was our family members will not have to choose between the culture and career using their education. If there isn't one of these that has to come first, but he basically said, look, my kids and eventually my grandkids, if they get a college education, there's no real jobs here for them. There's no job as a chief marketing officer at Spiritlight. So we need to come up with a company where people don't have to choose to leave here and leave their family and move to Minneapolis, and they'll still be able to get a professional job. So that was his vision. And then the mission came from that. And I said, well, what are we going to do? And he said, what kind of company do you have? He said, well, that's up to you. Whatever you want to do, as long as it hits this, I'm in. And how he wrote me into doing it is he called me up one day because I was working as a consultant for Amgen, and it's not a bad place to work. And he says, I know you, and you do not want to spend your life driving up and down the 405 and working inside of a box. Come with me, we'll found a company. This is what I want it to be in the end, and you figure out what you want to do. So he wrote me into it. Now notice here that the focus is specifically, he and my 2 co-founders were brother and sister. So they were focused on their family members. So Patagonia, they talk about making a better world and that, but your vision doesn't have to be that. I know the very first day when I said, what does success mean to you? A lot of you said that you wanted something to leave to your family, or you wanted your family to be involved in company. That's perfectly fine. So there isn't a right or wrong answer as far as what your vision and your mission ought to be. I would suggest it be something that's achievable, like the book says, not give everybody a puppy or world peace, but something that could actually be done. Now, it's funny when Michelle came in, I was just talking to one of my former teammates from the world team, and we were kind of laughing, but I was never the warm and fuzzy type. And so you might think, well, why is all this, what is my vision for a better world and your mission? But there's a couple of reasons for spending some time thinking about this. One is to focus your decision making. A lot of times when entrepreneurs start out, you have a lot of ideas, right? Like we talked about having a Sync store and selling stuff in the neighborhood, selling stuff for us, and having Sync gear and having stuff online and authentic goods. And maybe you want to do all those things, but not all at once. So It will help you focus when you're making decisions about where you want to be, where you want to work. I mean, for us, because our vision was providing professional employment for people on the Spirit Lake Nation, we got so many offers to outsource to India, where, we just didn't even consider it. Maybe we would have had more business if we moved to Minneapolis, but that wasn't what our vision was for the company, so we didn't even consider it. So if you spend, and I know some places spend a ton of money and have corporate retreats and fly in everybody. I don't think you need to do that, but I think you do need to spend some thought on if this company is successful, what it will be like. And then the other reason is you want to convey your message to investors. Because I have talked to people trying to get me on their board of directors, getting me to invest. And even if they talk to me for half an hour, I still can't figure out what it is they do. When we with Spirit Lake Consulting, we were talking to something at this class. No, we were talking to. Yes, sir.
Do you like run into people that, like you said, just like have made up titles or loosely affiliated, like so they think of as if they contributed something to the film, they give you like a executive producer or whatever it is credit, but you have little input, but you donated your time or this resource to the outcome of the.
I do run into people like that. That's why when we're hiring somebody, we have learned to have them bring in something they have worked on and explain it. What did you do there and why did you make those decisions? And that kind of separates the people who put their name on something from the people who actually did it. But with Spirit Lake Consulting, we were, and I think I mentioned this before, our chief marketing officer he was right out of school, just got his doctorate, and he would come up with all these ideas. We'd go do research on health issues, on reservations. That's a really great idea. How are we going to make money on it? And he said, finally, I get it. We do anything that makes money. No, we don't do anything that makes money, but anything we do has to make money because we can't completely continuously leave money in clothes. So if you're a for-profit corporation, you don't get grants, you don't get funded for their places, you have to make money on things. If you're a nonprofit, then you bring in money for grants, So it helps you focus. Also, when you're asking people to give you money, what exactly is it that you do? We've had investors, and I'll get you a little. We had some messages that investors hated, but we didn't change very much. This was an institute where I was the director, and our mission statement was: our mission is to improve secondary and post-secondary teaching in the Upper Midwest. And we were a nonprofit, so if you decide that your grocery store isn't going to be for-profit, it's just going to be nonprofit, that's fine too, but you still want a mission statement. And we gave out a lot of grant money, and somebody came in and they wanted a grant to go to France. If you were a French teacher, the university, I might approve that because you can go to France, maybe you speak French better. If you were a chemistry professor, I would ask you, why are you going to France? And if you said, because the Sorbonne has the greatest chemistry program in the world, I'm going to study it, I would approve it. Because that would improve post-secondary teaching in Upper Midwest where you teach. If you said, because they have great food, I would empathize with you, but we were not approved. If you came in and you told me how much your reservation needed early childhood programs, I would empathize with you, but I wouldn't give you any money. Because our mission is to improve secondary, post-secondary teaching in Upper Midwest, and we can't do everything. And so you need to go to Head Start and somebody else's sorry. If you came in and you had a great university program, or you're going to found a new tribal college in California, I would say good for you, hope you do well. But you're not in the Upper Midwest. So it helps you focus on what it is that you do. And because if you're going to be successful, you're going to have to say no a lot. It makes it a lot easier to explain, this is not what we do. It's not that we hate you, we don't dislike your idea, this is not what we do. And so there are things that I tell you that are facts, and there are things that I tell you that are my opinion. So this one's my opinion. Don't spend days writing your mission and vision statement. That one you just saw for the Mid-Continent Institute took me 15 minutes to come up with that. I printed it out, taped it over my desk. So maybe it'll take you more than 15 minutes, but then please don't pay some consultant a ton of money to come in and write it for you. Figure out what is it that's important to you. How will things look if you're successful? And what are you gonna do to get it? It should now, I thought it was kind of funny in the textbook because they went and did this long thing on why Coca-Cola's mission statement is not appropriate. I don't know, Coca-Cola is doing pretty well, so I don't know if I disagree. The vision is what is important to you? What do you want to happen?
And then what are you gonna do if the business is successful?
No, the mission, the mission is what you're gonna do
What are you gonna,
to get to that vision.
oh, okay.
So they have to be connected. If you say, I want to improve, I want to provide jobs on my reservation, and yet you're trying to make as much money as possible. Well, for what I do, the way for us to make as much profit as possible would be to hire a bunch of people in India, it's outsourced to do stuff, but we're not going to do that because that's not what we were about. We were told many times when we started our company, we would make a lot more money if we sold to Harvard Westlake and Eton and this, Phillips Exeter, the schools that are really, really expensive because they have a lot of money, but that's not what we do. And you might gather from what I showed, we changed our mission statement and vision from when we started. When we started, we were focused just on providing games for Latino and Indigenous communities, and now it's for anybody that wants to tell a story. Because as a friend of mine said, there are people who, and this is sad, there are people who are abused that maybe they want to do something on preventing child abuse. That's something worth teaching about too. So don't spend a ton of time on it. I like the thing it said in your textbook. See, I say this all the time, so now you know I actually read the book, where it said mission statement does the following with a tone of optimism. I like that because truly being an entrepreneur, you have to be optimistic, right? If you know that at least half of businesses fail and you're like, but I'm going to be in that part that succeeds. So what a mission statement that says who you are. Now, when we originally started, we said that we made games for grades 3 through 8 for underserved communities. But it defines who you are, what you do now, and who you do it for, and what you want to do in the future. So when we talk about our state store, we want to provide services and products to the college and the community. So we know what we're doing and who we're doing it for in a welcoming environment. And then we can look at, well, in the future, part of that might be bringing in vendors, bringing in Native American-owned companies. And I am probably not the best entrepreneur. I have a friend from Apple who makes fun of me because my doctorate's in statistics. And to me, if I say we're going to make $1 million this year, it means there's at least a 51% chance we're going to make $1 million. Where Elliot says, no, if there's like a 1% chance you can make $1 billion, then you told me you're going to make $1 billion. So I'm going with the 51% chance. Now, because the mission statement defines who you are and who you serve, it shouldn't change very often, right?
I was just going to ask, people change out?
They do, but it's kind of like changing your major, right? It's very easy to do early on. If you came in and this is your first semester, you take some classes and you say, you know what, I really hate business, I'm going to major in art. It's not that hard to do. And it's very possible you might do that because early on when you're starting something, I started as an urban studies major. And then I like living in the city. And then I took an accounting class and I thought I hated it and I really liked it. And I got into business. So early on, it's pretty common to change your mission statement when you're very first getting started. But then, because you don't know very much, right? You think this is going to be great to work with families, and then you work with families, young children, and you realize, no, working with young children is like earning taxes. It's just not for you. We, very early on, said we were just going to do what I wanted to do. This is very funny. When I started my company, I wanted to work with tribal colleges and I wanted to create remedial courses in math and statistics for tribal colleges. And this is I went to the tribal council and they said, we don't want that. And they said, we want you, they said, we feel like it's important to intervene sooner. And so we compromised on upper elementary, middle school. Because they said, well, would you do preschool? And nope, cover kindergarten. Nope. So we kept going. So early on it may change, but think about once you've gone down that path for a long time, you've hired people, you've done your marketing, you know, and it's the same way with the major, right? Taking a bunch of courses and after 2 or 3 years in, changing at that point, you can, but it's gonna be a lot harder. And it's the same thing if you've gone 2 or 3 years down the road with your mission state, you know, with a certain mission, it's going to be difficult to change. Now, for startups, it's not that unusual for people to pivot early on once or twice. So like I said, my initial idea was I wanted to roomie around the tribal colleges. The tribal council said, the first one we went to let us work where it's Spirit Lake. So obviously we went to that tribal council. They said, no, that's not what we want. Then we started out doing grades 3 through 8, making these games, and then in the process, we developed sort of building blocks for games, and then we expanded out. Funny enough, Unreal Engine, which y'all heard of Fortnite, the game? Yeah, so there's a gaming company that makes that Unreal Engine, and they made the gaming engine to build their own games, and now they make a lot of their money from actually selling the tools to make those games. And a lot of other companies start like that too. They start with something that's maybe a tool for communication in-house, and then they find that a lot of other people use that, and they shift from, you know, doing consulting on spreadsheets to a tool for like Slack. So early on you may change, but then once you've invested a lot in it, it makes it that much harder. And besides which, it's who you are, right? And if you look back on, now, if you're not still in high school, not to be mean to you guys back there, but if you're not still in high school, you may look back when you were in high school. Oh my God, let's just think about the first person you ever dated. Are you with that person? And do you think back and go, thank you, no. Right? So maybe you're completely different now.
That's what we call it dating.
Right?
That's what we call dating.
Yeah. Or the first job that you had. So people do change, but then the further along you go down that path, the less like you are. So you've got a mission, you got a vision, and so now you come up with goals, and all of those things have to go together. So the SMART goals, remember we talked about those, have to fit your mission. So something like the Sink Store will break even by its second year of operation. Well, if we're going to be a community center, we have to be sustainable, right? So by the second, and also just going back to the previous chapter where it talks about all those different things you need, decision-making, like the industry knowledge, you need knowledge of the environment. I'm pretty sure that the college is not going to subsidize the store year after year after year. So maybe, you know, a year and a half, but by then they're going to say, hey, we need to break even on this. By fall 2023, the store will be selling on-site 4 days per week, 50 weeks a year. And I actually thought of this. If we're also going to sell in the community, we can't just randomly shut down when we have breaks, right? Because if I'm not going to college here and I'm used to stopping on my way home when I get off work late and getting a snack or whatever, or walking over here, I can pretty well remember, okay, they're open Monday through Thursday. But they're randomly shut around the college schedule. Who knows what the college schedule is when they're not in college?
That's why Toby is a standalone right next to it.
Yes, and that's a really good idea too, because then they don't have to come on campus, like the museum bookstore, you can come into without paying for the museum. Yes, I do not know the school schedule because I called my daughter the other day. She's like, Mom, I'm teaching. Apparently, Los Angeles Unified and San Juan Unified don't have the same schedule. And then partly too, if we're going to be sustaining, you can't probably break even being open 2 days a week. And I have more plans on this, like 50 weeks of the year. What about those weeks in the summer when it's very slow? Well, that's when we can be looking at our inventory, doing inventory, we could be training new people, we could be looking at our processes. So this, remember our business model canvas we did? Well, we're looking at our customer segments. That's why I said 50 weeks out of the year, because if I'm looking at the community as being one of the customer segments, yeah, you all might not be here when there's no classes, but the people that work in those offices are going to be here. The people that live in those apartments are going to be here. So if we're going to serve that customer segment. So now you said all this stuff goes together, right? The vision and the mission and business canvas. So going back to the previous chapter where it talked about strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. What one of the possible threats to our success? So think about what would be a threat to the success of your business. Like for Leanne's, if somebody came in and they put a Sprouts right next door, right on your reservation. You know, if for your business, if they said, if all of a sudden the state decides that you need a certain level of certification to own an ultrasound business. I mean, they have done that before in other states, not for ultrasound, but like speech pathology or different things. I mean, there's something about dialysis on the ballot right now.
It's for the dialysis that they
They'll
don't,
shut down.
Yeah.
Majority.
there's no doctor on site.
They need to have a doctor on site, right?
That's what it is.
So that would be a possible threat if there's any kind of regulations coming down.
I will pay attention and tell you all that's an important one.
What?
I said, that's an important one, so if someone read it real good and then tell you.
Political changes coming down the pipe would be a threat, like your dialysis clinic, that would be one. For us, and I mean, you don't have to look at every possible threat. What if we're abducted by aliens? What if a piece of space shuttle flies off and hits the seat store? But one possibility is what if the campus moves? Because we're growing. We'll talk a lot about possibly wanting our own space. So what if we build up this? What if we build up this community here? If people come in and then we move, so that would be a threat. And these are things you want to think about before you found your company. So if they happen, you're ready. It's funny, I get asked a lot in podcasts and interviews and stuff how being a competitor, being an international athlete relates to running a company. And I tell them there's two things. One is you have to work at it for a really, really long time. This idea of overnight success is kind of a myth. And the other is you have to plan for stuff. I tell the kids I coach all the time, in the middle of a match is not the time to come up with your strategy. I mean, you guys play volleyball, right? You probably come up with ideas what you should do if you're behind, or I don't know anything about that volleyball, but I'm guessing you do. Yes. Do you have people that I don't really know how volleyball works, so usually they're very tall. But like, do you have certain people you swap in if you're behind, or can you move them around, or you have to go more?
With the swap, like, so yes, like we just live, like, some of our starters.
And I know with soccer, Julia's team would do that. They were, if they were ahead, they really want to keep that score. They would put in the people who are really good at defense.
And they should know the opposite teams.
So you want to be prepared for that. What if this happens? And then if somebody's giving us money, if I'm going to the board saying, hey, we're in the same store, give us money. And they say, well, what if the campus moved and you put in time building this up? And my answer would be, well, we've still got our processes. We need to run a store. We've maybe got connections to some vendors. We've got some employees that we're training. The people who are on the campus here are going to move with us. So even though that might be a threat, we'll have a lot built up. It's not like we completely lost it. So those are things to think about. So here's some more examples of SMART goals. For ours, by fourth quarter 2023, we have completed the commercial version of the 7th generation Ames blocks and have 3 paying customers. And 3 might not seem like a lot, but we charge our customers a fair amount. So in 2023, customized development sales will exceed $700,000. So I want it to be specific. And the tough thing I say it's tough because it could be tough on you. The tough thing about measurable goals is then you track that, right? You don't wait till the end of 2023 and say, oh, we missed it. So if March comes around and our sales are $50,000, I'm gonna be looking at what we're gonna do. The other thing you should be aware of when you're setting your goals is seasonality. Now, for us, like if I'm selling to schools, schools pretty much decide what curriculum they're gonna buy between January and April. You might get a few sales in May, you might get a few sales in August or September when school starts and they realize they're missing something. But by and large, nobody's changing their curriculum in November. There are other, retail stores, of course, they sell the vast majority of their stuff on Christmas time. Unless you're a candy store, in which time, when do you sell the vast majority of your stuff? Halloween, and there's two other.
Valentine's.
Yeah, Valentine's, Christmas is kind of fourth. Halloween, Easter, and Mother's Day.
Oh, that's right.
And we actually bizarrely enough used to do really well at Mother's Day because we used to do a thing, give your mom a school. Your mom's a grown-ass woman, she probably already got some women say grown-ass woman. But your mom's a grown woman, she got whatever she wanted, give her a school, moms love that kind of stuff. Mom like kids. We'll even send her a card that says your very favorite son, Danny, give school today. So anyway, you want to have specific goals. Maybe if you're talking about quarters, you want to consider what the seasonality is of your business. If you're doing a grocery store, I don't think there's much seasonality. It's either day, maybe Thanksgiving as well. So once you have those goals, you're tracking them. If you did not do a review of a resource yet, I'm recording this, so I want to say this really loud. If you did not do a review of a resource yet, feel guilt. One place that's really good is actually the Small Business Administration business plan site. I believe the link in your book did not work, so I found the correct link and I put it as PowerPoint, which I will put up today. And again, I say all the time, do not pay anybody to write a business plan. First of all, because it's your plan. How can you, it's kind of like you asking me to tell you your favorite color. In that case, it's blue. But the business plan template up there is really helpful. It's more general. It doesn't so much give you like specific goals and that, but it'll guide you through what it is that you actually want to do. And it's free. SBA has a bunch of free stuff. Now, one of the suggestions that Utasco has on coming up with your pitch, so now we're moving into pitching, right, is start with a story. What is it that, who are you helping? Airbnb, to give an example, there's there's millions of people that would like to go somewhere and get a flavor of the local culture and maybe stay with people, but they don't know anybody. And then there's 700,000 people who would like to rent out their place for some extra income, but they don't know anybody. You're in the middle. So you will, if you seriously run a business and try to raise money, you will probably tell people your pitch hundreds of times. You will get an elevator pitch down that you can rattle off in your sleep. You will be able to give your 5-minute pitch. If you are not used to or comfortable speaking to strangers or speaking in front of people, you will get over that. So what's your story? Here was our first story about 7 Generation Games. Actually, we had, so these are actual pictures of actual kids. And this is Joe. Joe was on graduation in the North Central Night. And this is Eva. Eva. So maybe 100 months, maybe 100 months. And just because of where they live and who their parents are, both of Eva's parents have college degrees, neither of Joe's parents do. Eva is 6 times as likely to get college degree as Joe. And that difference was the day she was born. And then we were talking about, and this is all true, and we were talking about how the difference gets compounded year after year because math is hierarchy, it's foundation. If you don't get addition, you're not going to understand multiplication. If you didn't get subtraction, you're not going to understand division. If you don't understand division, you're not going to understand fractions. And it's not because Joe doesn't have a good math brain, it's because he didn't get that foundation. And so when he gets to the point where he can go to college, Joe is at a disadvantage compared to Eva. just because of where he was born and where he went to school. I thought that was a really good story. And guess what? Investors hated that. And what they said, and you see, I did pitch some of my friends and family, some of my friends who had a big bit of money, and one of them said this, and he said it with a very deep southern accent, but he said, you told us all about how you were going to help Native American children, but not how we're going to make money. But if I'm pitching investors, and that's when the textbook says, think about your audience. Now, unfortunately, I also would pitch this foundation, also would make jerks. But other people did, so, you know. So your story may have to change. I still want to help kids like Joe. So what we did is we changed our story. And we said, we make reusable blocks of code that are so efficient, we can afford to make games profitably for small markets like tribes who want to preserve their language. We can also incidentally make games that would really be of interest to little kids that maybe are really big into hunting deer and really interested in fish. And that's why we go out and make a game for like Warm Springs. And we ask kids, what do you want to see in a game? And they say, I would like to learn about the life cycle of salmon. So Jacob probably knows about that, but I learned, oh, you know, they put things about, you know, fish ladders should be in your game.
Eels.
Yep, eels. There, yep. We went and saw actually this fish ladder where they catch the eels.
All the
Fisheries and yeah. So because we make those reusable blocks of code, because we're able to make a game faster and cheaper, then we can make games where you teach math in the context of, you know, raising salmon. But I'm reading about it at 8 in the morning. Okay, do I got to get pizza?
They're tall.
We will take a brief pause, waiting for the pizza. Story that we make reusable blocks code. They're so efficient we can afford to make games profitably for small markets like tribes who want to preserve their language. Think about your business model canvas. Oops. And so who are the key partners? So one key partner might be investors, so we care what they think. And also for us, key partners were tribes, because we had to have some place that they would let us try out these games. We had to have some people that would make the games with us. So those would be key partners for us, people who would help us develop the stories, people who would help us test them. And then the investors were also key partners, because people who would give us money to keep the doors open while we're doing this. And then revenue streams. For us, we had multiple revenue streams. If you think back to the SMART goals, one of them was customized development. So we want to make these blocks and we want to sell them, but in the meantime, while it's taking us a year or more to get them done, we're doing customized development for people. Some person in Montana wants to make a game about the Bozeman Trail. Great. I'm excited about the Bozeman Trail, also excited to deposit the check. Thank you very much. So customized development is one. A little bit of money came from app store sales. It's a tiny little revenue stream. Some foundation that wanted to improve education in certain areas, they funded us, the U.S. Department of Agriculture. So different revenue streams. So now that you know what your goals are and what your vision is and what your mission is, you are ready to create a pitch. And the things that are in your pitch, you see people say things in different ways, but they're still the same thing, really. The key problem or unmet need. That's your value proposition. What value are you giving people? In our case, I would say our value proposition is people have information that they want to teach. And it's to a very specific audience, whether it's children from their tribe or kids in middle school learning about medians, or kids in middle school learning about the Bozeman Trail or whatever. So people have a very specific content that they want to teach. The market opportunity, this is an area that I think we didn't do that well on early on. And one advantage being accelerators, they helped us with that a lot. Because what they kept saying is, who else could you sell this to? Because I'm thinking, well, we could sell it to who we're selling it to, which is tribes that want to have their language preserved, or tribes that want a story about their culture. And then we went to Chile, and Chile's only got, I think, 16 million people in the whole country. So they would like a game about their history. So that's what we were doing. And then the mentors and sellers, and what about if I'm the National Fig Growers Association, which does not appear to be the National Fig Growers Association, so it's fig growers should on it. But what if I have some work FFA, and you do it for, who else could you sell this to? Like you were saying, all right, we're selling stuff to people on campus here. Who else could we sell to? People in the neighborhood. How else could we, how could you make your market bigger? So that's gonna often make the difference between you making money and not. If you're just selling to the people in this 1 square mile area, maybe not. If you could sell to people who live in this area, plus the people who work here, plus people online. So what's the market size? And think creatively about how to make that bigger. Creatively, not lying. Who are your competitors? Probably you don't want to put a 7-Eleven right next to a big supermarket. So on Molokai, I was saying the name wrong, my daughter's last name, but on Molokai, there's one town, and there's a grocery store there. And there's also a little convenience store. And how the heck can this convenience store survive? And what I found out was they're open much longer hours. So if it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm gonna go to the grocery store. But if it's 7 o'clock and the grocery store is closed, I'm gonna go there. And of course, what would you guess that they would sell lots and lots of? Yep. If it's 8 o'clock and I want to go there and the grocery store is closed, I'm going there. So they do have a competitor, but what is their unique selling proposition? They're open when the grocery store is closed.
Better selection.
They should have a better, smaller displays, but they're open. You can buy your beer there at 8 o'clock at night. I found that out. So your innovative solution doesn't have to be, I'm building a spaceship on Mars. Their solution was, there's nothing open here because this is a very rural place. There's nothing open after 5 o'clock. Let's be open till 10. Your pitch should have your management plan. If you don't, Michelle and I were talking about this earlier, if you don't have other people on teams, at least have a plan, right? I'm going to be the CEO, but I will hire minions. But I'm going to hire a chief marketing officer, chief technology officer, whatever you do. Who's your management plan going to be? What's the structure? Financial needs in your pitch. So every pitch pretty much should have an ask. So when people say, what's your ask? In other words, how much money are you asking for? So I just got a call this morning about that because my husband is still the CTO of St. George Games, and he said, if we're making more money, which we are, I want more money. Because he worked for nothing for 2 years, right? And how much money are you asking for? And what is that money going to go pay for? So I can tell you that for us, we're raising $1 million, and half of it is going for expanded marketing to bring in more business. And then about 30% is going to development to make development move faster, and about 20% to design and text. But anyway, what are you asking for? What are you going to do with that money? So if you're asking for $500,000 to get your store started, some of that is going to go to probably there's not some place that's immediately ready to be a grocery store. So someone's going to go to putting in like refrigerators and freezers and hire you the first few weeks. You hire people and train them and all that, and you haven't opened the store yet. So what's that going to go to? And then your financial projections. Now, this is the optimistic part that I'm not always the best at because I tend to be like, well, I'm pretty sure we'll make this. And investors assume you're lying or overly optimistic. And so a lot of times they cut it in half. But how much money you think you're gonna make every year? And then what are the risks? Now, your textbook says that your pitch should include the risks. I've never put that in. I figured, let you poke holes in it. I'm gonna say how great things are. So maybe some people put that in their pitch, but I've never personally seen it. One really good thing, really good point your textbook makes is know who you are pitching. So there are pitch competitions, and I think that you should all do that as much as possible. It will get you more used to doing your pitch. You'll get more comfortable with it. When we first started, we did lots of them. And then we got a lot of feedback from people who probably didn't know what they were talking about because they know more than us, right? We're starting a company, they're starting, well, I think you ought to say you'll make $1 billion. Well, I don't think you should. But you get practiced at it. People ask you questions that you don't know the answer to. And then the next time you do a pitch, you'll know the answer. You said grades 3 to 8. How many kids are there in grades 3 through 8 in the United States? So pitch competitions, you can often win money, not a lot of money. I think the most we won was maybe $35,000. And then that's the most we won in cash. Like for the Global Entrepreneurship Summit, we got Best Media Entertainment.
I was just thinking, I helped these kids do a pitch competition one time, and they were all Native American kids, and it was Disney who came down, and they wanted to know. I was trying to remember the pitch, and I was thinking, why would they give them these? I was thinking in my head, why would these kids give these great ideas to Disney? Because Disney was just going to give them free tickets to go to Disney, but there was nothing saying that they weren't going to steal their ideas. And these Native kids had great ideas, and Disney was there. CEO of Disney was there to look at the pitches and read all the pitches. And I was just laughing. I was thinking, like, I wonder what they did, because like ours was really good. Our kids had this ride. It was ride idea. It was an idea for a ride. So it's just really interesting that I was like, what is a pitch competition? And I was like, wait, I think. Because then the kids had to go on stage and talk about their product, what they were going to do, why the ride would be this way, what's going to come out, what we're going to see visually. So it was really interesting. And my team won, and they got free tickets. So I thought that was really cool. But I wonder if Disney's stealing their ideas.
You're sneaking ahead. I have a slide.
That's up to Sonora.
All right, so, come on.
And then they
I
have.
can't
Star
wait.
And at the end of it, they ask the students to what designs from your tribe or what images have you seen that you would like to contribute or you'd like to see on a sheet. They gave everybody a big sketch pad, sat everybody in a big table, big auditorium actually, and then they just made them draw for about an hour what they thought would look best for the kids' settings for future generations. And I was like, these guys are.
They're good. They're stealing those ideas.
Yeah,
That's
they're-
wild.
Yeah. Swoop up on them. I'm on.
Well, I'm gonna disagree with you on that for sure. So pitch competitions don't win a lot of money. I think for Global Entrepreneurship Summit, we won $5,000, but they paid for Maria to go to India, so she likes to go to India. And they gave her a laptop on top of $5,000, and they gave $50,000 in Amazon Web Services credits to store stuff in the cloud. So that was tough. Now, if you don't have a company, but the thing was, if you don't have a company that could use those, it wasn't worth it for us, since we're already paying Amazon, it was worth it. So pitch competitions, sometimes you only get the bragging rights, sometimes you get money, but it's never like $1 million. Trade groups, the National Indian Education Association, they don't have a pitch competition. The International Society for Technology and Education does. So the New Mexico Association of Bilingual does. So various organizations where you can come and pitch. There's a lot of the agricultural groups do. You generally don't get any money for that, but you get in front of a lot of potential customers. You get feedback. So that's fine. And we went in the next one, and he was a giant foam shark. Tribal economic development funds, because as you know, there are hundreds of tribes. You can't say, oh, this is what they're like. So some of I've only worked with a dozen tribes. So I can tell you the ones that I work with, first of all, they are very, 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 very in favor of giving money to their own tribe members. If you're not a member of that tribe, your chances of getting money from them is much, 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 much smaller. I regret that, I'm just saying that's the way it is. So if you're not, from Shakopee, but I take it back, Shakopee. But say if you're not from Spirit Lake Travel Development's not giving you money. There's not. Same thing with Terminal, they're just not. Now, there may be other tribes that have a lot more money that would do that, and there are a few I'll mention in a second. But I do know a lot of tribes very much give priority to people who are from their tribe, going to find a business on their reservation. And those funds that I work with, they also are looking at, if you make money, they want you to pay back. And if you don't make money, you don't have to pay back. So that's the ones I see mostly. There are a few tribes that do have a lot more money that do invest. And I have not actually gone to any of them and tried to get money. So I know at one point when we were in North Dakota, we talked about going to Shakopee because we're founded in Dakota, Spirit Lake Dakota Nation, Shakopee, Dakota. I do know they got pitched so much, right? That everybody rather was coming in saying, let's Shakopee just get $3 million to do curriculum on Indigenous children. So they have a lot of money and people are constantly pitching them. So yeah, I have not actually pitched them. I know they get a lot of pitches. The other one that, the other thing that a lot of tribal economic development funds do is fund in their own, for their own use. So if you're pitching to them, you're not pitching a company that they would invest in for you to build, for you to own. So like Ho-Chunk, I don't know if you know them, but they're really famous for that, right? They have a lot of very successful tribal industries. Turtle Mountain's got but they've got a really successful company that does like data processing, data entry. Spirit Lake has got a place that does camouflage and helmets for the Army. So another thing the tribal funds may do is they'll fund a company, they'll fund an entrepreneur, an enterprise, but often they're looking at it will be a tribal enterprise. But still, they're expecting you to pitch, why are you gonna do this? Why, how will we make money on it? So that's some options, but again, when you have that many tribes, it's really hard to channelize. Let's see for a sec. Go. We can take, I want to take a look at Ho-Chunk.
Because I feel like the overall like end game would be the creating the industry on your rural area, like you have something that's really of value or substance right there that can be used that only grows in this specific area.
Well, I mean, the end game for who? I mean, for some people, they want to found their own company and run it themselves. And other people, as long as it was something that was successful and played their tribal groups, they would be happy. There's a reason that I founded 7 Generation Games as a for-profit. Because I don't want a board of directors telling me what to do. I have been president of a nonprofit and brought in a bunch of money and then they voted me out. So after that experience, when I founded my own company, the board of directors, and I will just say this because it's not a secret, the majority of our board of directors is my family. So if my family throws me under the bus, I got more problems than the company. So anyway, here's Ho-Chunk. They own a lot of businesses. So it's pretty cool. They've got the Ho-Chunk Trading Group that has all kinds of products that you can see here. They've got a real estate company. So it's just an example of what they did with their Tribal Economic Development Fund. And if you're, as I said, if you're pitching to them, if you're trying to get them to invest in something, they're going to invest in something that's going to be owned by their tribe. So if you come in and say, oh, give me money so I can start this business on your reservation and own it, they're probably not going to do that. So know who you're pitching. I mean, it's their reservation, it's their rules, it's their thing.
Where I was kind of in between too. I'm like, I don't know if I want to ask my tribe for money. I don't think I want to ask them for anything really. I'd rather just do it on the land out there. I don't think I'd ask them. Because like what you said, then they would be in control of it or it would be theirs, pretty much, right?
It depends, if it's a for-profit business, it depends on what percent they own. If you own, because I have always said this about 7 Generation Games, I'm never giving up more than 51% of that company. If I do, I'm going to sell the company outright. Because I'm not very good at taking orders. So you could get them to invest and get 20% of the company, and if it's successful, they will get a return on it. And people will be employed. Now, they have the option of not taking that deal. you can get other people that are completely outside of there and go and, pitch them and see if they will invest in it. And I think you might have a good chance of getting people to invest. There are a lot of ultra liberal yuppies who would probably invest in your idea, and it's a really good idea.
Did you ever go to the Augustine one that they just put up?
Yes, no, I did it before they had it completely built. Sync had a lab class.
Yeah.
Then they would take us out. Did you go when you went?
Yeah.
Man, that was great.
What was it? Was it a grocery store?
No, they made Temopa, which is from the earth in Korea, and it's a whole garden, like they have a greenhouse, garden, they're basically like, they're doing like a revitalization, like a traditional garden and trying to bring it back. Their grandma, I guess, had a vision for turning the land into that, and so they wanted to turn the land into that, and it's really nice. It's like, they had like a market night, and I guess when COVID hit, it kind of threw their plans under, so they started like a box to go like produce program, and they were boxing their stuff out, people were buying it like that. So and then I guess the last thing I read is that they had lime or lemon cucumbers. They taste way better than regular cucumbers, and so that's what I want to do, is try to get things like that that we're not really used to eating, but it's kind of like what we're used to eating. But yeah, I did go to that place.
Okay.
Where is it?
St. Augustine Reservation. Where is that at?
It's out on 50.
So,
It's out there on 50s.
Yeah.
Coachella.
It's not too far.
Nope, that's where it's-
More.
40 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Go east.
So my tip for you is pitch as much as you can when you're getting started, because people will poke holes in it, they'll ask you questions, even people who are very interested, they'll ask questions, you don't know the answer to, because you've done that. When you look at that, what do you call it, graphic in the previous chapter, where it had those circles, and one of them was evaluate the details. It always bugs me, well, I'm a big picture person, I'm not a detail person. You know what? You got paid this week, you got paid the right amount, those are some details. I'm a detail person. So pitch as much as you can. Here's 3 that are local. There's, and I don't know how to pronounce some, it's in Spanish, Caravanserai project. In fact, I know Gabby and Claudia, if you know them, the sisters are there, they were both involved in it. So they give funding for social impact projects. There's ribcoinnovation.org. Every April, they do a startup month, and they have a startup pitch competition. Tech Coast Angels are probably the largest angel investor group in the country, certainly the largest one in the West Coast. They're mostly LA County, San Bernardino County, Orange County, and they mostly fund. A lot of what they fund is health. Oh, you should pitch them. Oh my gosh, you should. And they would love you. For real. I mean, I'm gonna try to set that up. I think it'll be amazing. So anyway, yeah. That's great. No, you totally should. They'd be really nice. They would love you. They do a pitch competition for college students every year, which they're one at UCLA. It's pretty cool. It's huge, and they could charge you $100 to go and watch. But it's pretty cool. And the ones who get picked for it, they coach them a whole lot. I just remember one of the ones that did not win was called Karma Goat, which I thought was hilarious. Karma Goat. That you would give money. I forget exactly why. One of those things like you donate a certain amount of per purchase, and it goes to this thing. And it was like how much money it would cost to get family goat, and how it could change their life because you get goat milk and stuff. And one of the questions they asked him is, how did you get your name? So, and the guy tried to say something other, he said stuff, and then the judge says, okay, the good names are all taken, I get it. Oh, so how the pitch competitions work usually is there will be a few judges. If you've seen Shark Tank, kind of like that, but nicer.
Yeah, they're getting pretty tight.
That's probably what she thinks it is.
Yes, yeah. Usually like the Tech Coast Angels one, you tell like there'll be a panel of 3 or 4 judges and you give your pitch, and then there's like 10 minutes or so where they ask questions. But yes, do it as much as you can. So You want to know who you're pitching. Angel investors are generally going to give somewhere between $10,000 to $100,000. We've done a few angel rounds, and I'd say the average investment was probably $20,000. So there are people who have money. They would like to invest in something that they think might pay them some money back. This is not their main thing they do normally. Some of them would do, but a lot of it's somebody who's a dentist or a doctor, and they have some extra, an extra $20,000, and they think I'll invest in this thing. Tech Post Angels, I believe you have to agree to invest in at least 3 deals a year of at least 10,000, something like that. So it's not a huge amount of money. Might have something in your pocket probably, but they're not talking millions. And angel investors usually come in very early on. So they're investing small amounts in a company just getting started. Social impact funds, now, again, this is my opinion, I have a very jaundiced view of them. A lot of them, social impact funds want to fund something that has a positive environmental impact. But they also want to make money. So you can't just, so we've pitched them a few times and they say, well, it looks like you're doing a lot of good stuff, helping raise math scores in these really rural communities and with kids who really could use the help, but you're not going to make a bazillion dollars, so pass. Venture capitalists are the other extreme from social impact funds. They do not care. You could be selling drugs to small children. As long as you're going to make a lot of money, they're in. Venture capitalists are looking for a 10x return. If they invest $100,000, they want $1 million back. And usually they're investing at a later stage. So they're investing in companies that are already making, say, $1 million a month in revenue. They might not be making profit. And so they'll invest generally from $1 million to $3 million, sometimes more. So.
And that's usually for the growth, right? If you're not
Yes.
keeping up with your expectation of growth.
Right, they're looking at, they want to put in $1 million, $10 million and see your sales spike up with that money. And then the last 3 foundations, this is probably the area I've done the least. I've done some pitching to foundations. Not my thing. We're doing, in case you're interested, by the way, it got moved to the 14th and 15th of November because Assemblyman Ramos is here the 16th. But Adolfo and I are doing a grant writing workshop the 14th and 15th. And he's talking more about foundations and smaller grants, where I'm talking more about the larger government. No, November 14th.
RSV clears.
Pardon?
Give it RSV.
Yes, I'm gonna send it out because we're hoping it for, yes.
It's on there, but it says it's $50.
No, put in steep discount.
Steep discount.
Yes. If when
She
you,
sent us an email.
when you apply, you put in steep DISC like this. It's all uppercase
And
and we'll charge you $0. So Adolfo's going to talk more about foundations. They do, I've done a few, I got money from them. The thing about foundations is they generally get a lot of people asking them for money. Often their applications are much shorter than federal grants. And sometimes if it's like Kellogg Foundation, maybe it's $10,000 or something, it's a short application. It's a lot more money. Make it as an application and then an interview, kind of pitching exactly like with the regular pitch, except you're pitching something for public good, right? A lot of this.
For the grant writing for the foundation, right? Or what normal resources are usually available for Reddit? If you wanted to transition something immediately into your work for your tribe.
Well, some of it would depend on where you are. For example, the Bush Foundation and Kellogg Foundation both get grants, and they get grants to Native Americans, but they're in specific areas. I know Bush is like North Dakota, Minnesota, South Dakota, or something like that. Kellogg is Michigan. Michigan, it's hardly because they're separate. It's like Michigan and somewhere else. So I know of a few, but they're geographically focused. But Adolfo would be the one who would know more about that. There is a Native American Development Fund that meets in Las Vegas every July, I think. And they give grants specifically for Native American youth interested in agriculture, and then they give some other kind of specific grants. So it depends kind of what you're interested in. But I would definitely look at, it's called the Native American Economic Development Fund. I could see the link to it. And they do give grants. And yeah, so it depends specifically on what you're looking for. That's a good point though. Most foundations have very specific things that they fund. And if you're not that specific thing, do not waste your time, right? I've argued, I used to do this for a living, right? I didn't do that face super long. But I would tell clients, I'm not gonna take the money. I'm not gonna write this grant for you. Because the Kellogg Foundation is focused on urban education. Well, we really need help on our reservation. I'm sure you do. But they fund urban education and you're not. So if they fund Michigan and you're not Michigan,
So it's always look for the criteria that
Yes.
you're expecting. to
the
hit.
very first thing, go to their website. Remember we talked about mission and vision? They're doing the same thing. If you're not in their service area, if you're not what they're geographically, what they do, don't waste your time. The other thing that with a lot of foundations, it's more personal. That's why they have all of these. Okay, I'm very biased. It's a lot of rich people get together, okay? A lot of rich old people get together and feel good about themselves. And yeah, I'm not good for that. But you can get a lot of money that way. I went to, what's his name? Sugar Ray Leonard does Foundation for Juvenile Diabetes. I don't know why that, but he does. Raises a ton of money every year that he gives to juvenile diabetes causes. Often with foundations, you are looking for more of a personal relationship. And again, not the one fuzzy type, not the putting on a designer suit and going to dinner, right? If you're good at
I'm the
that,
best dress I'll get. I can't do dresses.
I will tell you a secret. All these dresses I have were my sister's because I always wear like jeans and a hoodie. And she says you cannot do that. And I have like dresses. I have business suits for like 5-6 times a year. I go present a conference. And jeans and a hoodie. And she's the director of IT at University of South Florida. And she said, I'm getting a bunch of weight. I'm sending you boxes of dresses. You must wear them. And the other unrelated thing, when I was at University of Jamestown, the dean said they had a dress code for professors. And I was a jerk. And I was like, who do you think you are? And did anybody do research to prove that the more uncomfortable you are, the better you teach? And he said, when you go to a wedding, when you go to a funeral, when you go to a job, you dress up because it's an important event. We believe that teaching is an important event and therefore we dress up for it. Okay. Yeah. But I thought it was a good idea. All right, fine.
Right, you win.
It does make sense.
Right.
I just don't like it.
Well, and also when I graduated, when I first started teaching in the graduate program at UC Riverside, I was at 28, right? So I wanted to be distinguishable from my students. Anyway, so foundations, they often are looking for a personal relationship. You go and you go to the events, and you shake hands and you smile nice, and you wear a suit, and you don't tell them they're stupid.
I swear when I do those, I get dumb conversations. I'm just like, I don't know why I'm here. I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just spaced, I guess. 'Cause they ask me questions and I'm like, oh, I don't know. And I hate that I don't know the answers to things.
The foundations, though, those are specifically a group of people that are collectively together on a specific topic? Or is it usually a family foundation?
There are actually two types, I know, because my family founded a foundation. There's a private foundation, a public foundation. Family foundations, most of their money comes from a small number of people. To be a public foundation, it might be 51% of your income has to come from like public donors. I don't know.
Community.
But isn't it like just a threshold for like taxes though, like in order for them to be a foundation?
No, both are 501c3, both are nonprofit.
Mhm.
But some organizations will not give money to foundations that are private foundations. And again, part of it is because they're differently run. One of the reasons you might be seeing a thread here, one of the reasons we have a private foundation, a family foundation, is I don't want to raise all this money and then have some board come in and replace me and do something else with it. So the majority of foundations also might do. Anyway, so foundations are very focused on what they give, and smaller amounts, you can just write an application. Larger amounts, it's usually multi-step application, pitch, maybe some due diligence after that. And often you get more money as it goes on. And the Bush Foundation will say they want to know you. They want a relationship with you. We should go suck up to them because they fund tribal college. Grants, pardon?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, I'll send out Dolph on it. I'm better for grants because they are generally federal grants and state grants are very cut and dry. Here's the, yes, they're very regulated. They don't have to like you. You don't have to be nice. You don't have to be warm and fuzzy.
Like a paper for paper, that's it.
Yep. But generally, you're talking somewhere between 40 to 120 pages of instructions. All of which you must read and know better than God knows the Bible. This is the secret of getting grants funded. And then there'll be a section on need, a section on project, and you write a 200-page grant and you send it in. And if they like it well enough, they give you, half a. It is. It generally takes me 180 hours to write a grant, and I've done it many, many, many times. So if somebody asks me to write a grant for them, and there's not at least 6 weeks, I just turn them down. And then the other thing, so in your book, it says that sometimes you might pitch for grants. That's almost unheard of. Usually, you just write it, you send it in, close of business Eastern time on the day they say. If it's a minute late, they won't take it. They specify the font size and number of pages and all that stuff. Because to be fair, right? If it's for like $5 million or more, on occasion, and I have been on, they will send somebody to do a site visit exploration. But 99.9% of the time, you just send it in. Sit down in front of the computer, open a bank. And then there's lenders, there's the typical banks, but then there's also banks that get subsidized loans, like SBA. I have never done any of those as they ask for collateral, like your house. So I'm not going to do that. Now, if a friend just got an SBA loan for a couple million, their company does pretty well. And so their collateral was the company.
So
So
with lenders, you would have like a personal loan.
good. You could take out a personal loan, and some people do if they're bootstrapping it. I mean, when we, it's crazy. I now owe, well, actually I have $1,000 because I just booked something for my grandkids. But yeah, at one point we owed $87,000, and it's now all paid off. Yeah, so you can do
When it's
that.
those kind of like bank loans, like those are kind of personal loans. But is there like the questions and everything that you're using the money for? They don't even know all that. They just want to know what is the criteria?
Well, it depends on what kind of loan you got. Okay, well,
Is this like on like a worthiness type, like approval, like you do project some numbers that are going to be showing some signs of success, but
yes, but this is why the Small Business Administration underwrites loans, because it's very hard for a bank to give you a loan to start a business because it's very risky. And so you present your business plan, you ask them for a loan, they say no. And then the Small Business Administration can underwrite it. So they will say, take the risk, give these people the money anyway, but you still have to pay it back. And if you don't pay it back, say, because your business fails, you still have to pay it back. And then you have to pay it back by selling your house or whatever. So,
FHA loan,
pardon?
almost like that.
Yeah, so it's subsidized, but you still have to pay it back.
So wait, with grants and foundations, you don't pay the money,
Nope,
just with lenders.
yes.
You have to follow through.
Yes, you cannot spend the money on cheap whiskey and expensive gym pillows because they will put you in jail.
You can't go buy a Louis.
Bummer. But that's with all three, not just the two.
Right, well, I think with the loan, really, as long as you pay it back, even if you said you were gonna spend it on inventory or whatever, you can spend it on whatever you want, but you have to pay it back. The grants,
Looks like a credit card.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, and what I did when we started out is I would get like, a credit card that had a $30,000 limit. And I would pay all the bills on that, and then, one of those ones gives you like 6 months of free interest. And then I would transfer it over to some other credit card to give you 6 months of free interest, but yes, we did pay it all off. But, there were 2 years when we were building up the company and not getting any income, and yes, you have to be optimistic, that's for sure. This is just when you're doing your pitch deck. I put this in here so you can all take a look at it, or take a brief look at it. This is 30 pitch deck examples. Yeah, some of these examples in your textbook or some of those links don't work anymore. So this is just kind of cool when you're doing your own pitch deck. Come on, thing. So this has got the pitch decks for Facebook, Airbnb, Square, LinkedIn, a bunch of these when they first were trying to raise money. So I thought it was kind of cool. Like the Airbnb is the one everybody talks about. So I don't know if you knew that Airbnb originally stood for Air Bed and Breakfast. So you could take a look at those. They're kind of cool. All righty. So in a few minutes, you are going to do your own elevator pitch. There are 2 types of pitches, and you should have them both. Elevator pitch is what you can say in 30 seconds. So my elevator pitch would be, most people have information they'd like others to learn, whether students, citizens, tribal members, employees, or customers. And yet almost no one thinks to make educational gains because it's hard to do. At 7th Generation Games, we provide building blocks that enable almost anyone to make an educational game. Tools to make games are currently a $360 million market, but just think how much bigger that market would be if anyone could do it. 30 years ago, almost no one had heard of blogs because it took a lot of programming skills to make one. Then WordPress came along. It made it so easy that anyone who can email could have a blog. I'm sure your company has one. 7th Generation Games, what WordPress did for blogging, we did for educational games. I'm Dr. Emery Demage, president and co-founder, and I'm delighted to talk to you further about our development. There you go. So now that you have my 30-second elevator pitch, you all, because I have talked enough, are going to do your own elevator pitch. You can do it while we're eating pizza if you want. So you got 10 minutes, and then you're going to give that. Give that elevator pitch, get it right now. No, you're going to get it. See, you got that here, so you can write down a pitch, and then you're walking around and give it to these people. Yeah, no.